From years of anxiety to warrior and mentor, Bradley Robinson created the Anxiety Project to help you end your anxiety naturally. Let's mold the new you and let's end anxiety together.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Anxiety Project podcast. This one is number 30, and it's all about the 3 ways to mold the new you. Now, before I dive in, I just want to talk about why I didn't post a podcast last week. If you're expecting one, I'm sorry, but I am working on a project right now, and it's a very, very intense project and very special project. It's a CBT and NLP-based anxiety program that I will be selling on my website in the future, maybe 3 months from now. I'm hoping 2 months actually, but maybe 3. And it's going quite well, and it's downloadable, and you'll be able to purchase it on my website. And I'm really, really excited, and I'm working hard to get that done for you, and so that you can do it on your own time, your own pace. If you're not interested in coaching, this is a great program, and it goes over the whole spectrum of your brain to techniques to implement during the day and how to get rid of anxiety and change yourself. Now, this podcast episode is all about changing your identity, molding a new you. Now, when going through anxiety, it's very important to understand that there are things that your brain fears, and you have underlying beliefs that are just holding you back. You have fears that have not been dealt with. You have traumatic events in your past that you have not taken care of. And we are storing traumatic events, embarrassing moments, all of these things, these events, these traumatic events are being stored within the body. So you might be feeling pain in your lower back and you don't know why. You could be experiencing a lot of headaches. You could be suffering from an illness, a disease, or whatever it may be. But we hold traumatic energy within us. And most people do not know how to get rid of this energy. So that's what NLP is all about, releasing and reframing and looking at past events differently and cutting ties with people, cutting ties with people that have wronged you in the past, cutting ties with abusive people, parents, whoever it is. And in this episode, it's all about how do we change who we are? How do we go from being an anxious person to being a champion, a warrior, mindful, peaceful, that person we all admire? You know, you watch TV and you see these celebrities, that how cool they act. They're very relaxed, confident, and smart and funny. And it's like, how do I become that person? And it all starts with you. And the first one of the 3 ways to mold the new you is shifting your values. Now, your values are what's most important to you. What's most important to you? Okay? What do you value? You know, are you valuing negative friends that are holding you back? Are you valuing a job that's really doing no good in your life, that's making you overworked, stressed? Are you valuing certain foods that are making you overweight? Are you indulging in junk foods? Are you valuing these negative foods that, affect your brain function, affect your body in negative ways? Are you giving back to yourself? Are you not valuing you and your time spent? Are you watching TV and not valuing giving back to yourself by implementing relaxation techniques? So it's really about shifting your values. And you have to be context specific, okay, when you're shifting your values. And I'll tell you what I valued before I became a practitioner, NLP practitioner, and CBT coach. I valued, when I was going through my anxiety, it was negative friends and having these people around that were holding me back and running negative habits and talking negatively. And I absorbed them, because you are who you hang around. Who are you hanging around? And because you are absorbing their energy unconsciously. Okay? You're absorbing their energy unconsciously. And just hang on to that thought, because I'm going to get into that more during my speech on the second way to mold the new you. But right now, I valued, when I was going through anxiety, just indulging, because I was running negative thoughts about how skinny I was, right? So I would indulge in any foods just so I can gain weight. I was eating burgers, fries, pizza, chips. I wasn't thinking, I wasn't conscious about what was in the foods I was eating, what's in the ingredients. So now I value foods that are good for my health. I value eating a salad, and I value that because I feel better after I eat it. And I value that feeling. I value the healthy Brad. I don't value the unhealthy Brad. I don't value those bad foods. And right now, I value the time I wake up and the time before I go to bed, where I meditate and I do a little bit of exercise. So I value those times where I give back to myself. I value reading, and I value good friends. And I got rid of those negative friends. And I say this a lot in all of my podcasts, but getting rid of those friends and those people in your life that talk negative, complain, nitpick, and I get rid of those people, and I feel better because I'm not absorbing their energy, the things that they're saying. I used to mirror my friend who always talked negative and who always complained, who always nitpicked at the little things in life, and who was very narcissistic, and all of these things that I absorbed. And I found myself running his dialogue in my head, and I was actually repeating things that he said in my head and out loud. So it's amazing. We absorb these people. So if you start looking up to someone else and learning from them, and just by listening to this podcast, you're absorbing positive information that's improving on your life, and that's amazing. And this brings me into number 2. Model after someone. So who are you looking up to? Are you looking up to the right person Who is your role model? Who do you want to be like? And study what they do. What podcasts are you listening to? What books are you reading to become a better person? And this is what I did when going through anxiety. I picked certain people to look up to, and then I would listen to them, whether it was podcasts or YouTube videos or interviews or whatever it was. I would watch it. I wouldn't watch silly videos. Well, sometimes I would, because we all fall into those temptations. But the majority of my time, I was looking up to someone. I was looking up to someone and learning what they did. How did they overcome anxiety? How did they better their life? How did they stop those negative thoughts? How did they get into shape like that? How did they have power over their minds in such a confident and powerful way? And this is what I was doing day in and day out. I would listen to their podcasts when I went to bed, because I knew that when I was sleeping, I would absorb their information. Because you're like I said before, your subconscious absorbs all of that information. Whether you know it or not, you could be zoning out through this podcast here and there, but your unconscious is paying attention. Your unconscious is absorbing it. And that's what really matters. It's important that you look up to people who have gotten to a better place and figure out, how did they get there? What steps did they take to get to that powerful, confident, and uplifting point in their life? How did they get through those panic attacks? How did they overcome it? So that is absolutely crucial. Look, be conscious of who you're modeling after. Modeling is so important. Be careful of who you model after. I was watching depressing TV shows all the time before I recovered from anxiety. I was looking up to bad influencers. I was listening to Kurt Cobain and Nirvana all the time, depressing music, people with a lot of self-loathing and though that music sells, self-loathing music, complaining, and those negative songs sell. They sell, okay? So I changed my music. I no longer listened to that music, and then I listened to classical music instead. I started listening to jazz. I started to push myself out of my comfort zone and dive into something new, because I knew that going into a new genre is the only way that I can change who I am, because it's all about looking at yourself and saying, okay, this is who I am. This is the music and the people that I am looking up to. And it's not doing me any good. So I'm going to change and find relaxing music instead. Then I picked jazz, and then I started listening to classical music. And these genres really shifted my personality. And I started to find myself more relaxed listening to classical music. It was activating parts of my brain that I never thought would be activated before. So it's all about shifting what you do. And this goes into number 3, new routines. New routines. Now, I used to get up, put on my clothes, eat cereal and whatever, drink coffee, and run out the door. And that was my routine. I didn't have a morning routine. Now, routines are so important. You need a routine for a structured and powerful life, I would say. But structured. You need a structured routine. You need a routine so that it keeps you organized and not chaotic. You don't want to fall into chaos. You want to wake up and you want to follow a routine, and you want to wake up the same time every day so that you can keep your circadian rhythm, I believe it's called. But you want to keep the same sleeping pattern, and that's important. Keeping the same sleeping pattern, you'll feel more restful, and that is important. I value sleep, and that's another thing I value is a good night's sleep. And I value good night's sleep because I feel happier when I get a full night's rest. So that's a routine I really firmly implemented in my life, is getting a proper good night's rest, 8 hours, going to bed at this time, and waking up at a certain time. Even some nights where I'd go to bed later than I expected, I would still force myself to wake up at 6 a.m., even though I went to bed at 12, or 1. I would still force myself because I knew that I have to stick to a routine. And in the morning, I would meditate and I would stretch, and I would do that every day. And I do that every day. Meditation for me is really getting my mind into the present moment. It's really, I do manifestation meditations where I would, this is just brief, I would just picture what I want in my life, what I value. So in that manifestation meditation, I picture what I value. I say my mantra, and I really go over what I'm grateful for, because I have a morning journal. And in that morning journal, I write what I'm grateful for, and I write anything that's on my mind, whether it's negative or positive, and then I write what I'm excited about for the day, and that is my morning routine. And then I have a night routine where before bed, I would meditate and listen to classical music, and then I have a nighttime journal. So it's really about your routines. What routines are you running? And it's not just the morning and night, it's during the day. During the day when I was going through anxiety recovery, I was meditating on my lunch breaks when I was working. I would meditate. I would change it up. Usually I would sit, listen to music, whatever, relax. But then I started to change my routine. So it's really, to mold the new you really have to do a lot of self-reflecting. And this is why I provide the podcast, because it gives you pointers and step-by-steps to doing it, right? It's like what to do and how to overcome panic and how to overcome this and all of these areas of anxiety, and to really provide you guys with the knowledge of anxiety and why you're feeling the way you're feeling. So it's really all about facing your fears. And if you're not willing to step outside of your comfort zone, you're not going to overcome anxiety, because anxiety is all about stepping out. Anxiety recovery, is all about stepping outside your comfort zone. Now, we all receive 4 million bits of information, and that comes in through our senses. And this absorption of this information happens unconsciously. So that's crucial to understand. The absorption of this information happens unconsciously. So according to our unique filters within us, so the filters would include our energy, memories, patterns we run, our interests, what we value, and what we believe in. We delete, distort, and generalize the incoming information. 4 million bits of information per second, okay? So that the 4 million bits comes in through our senses, goes through our filters, and then we either delete, distort, and generalize the incoming information. Now, this results in our created internal representation of the world, how we view the world. Our internal representation activates our states and thus motivates our behaviors. So let's go over delete, distort, and generalization, okay? So the information comes through our filters, and it's like, what do we value? What do we believe in? What are our interests? What are the patterns we run, right? So deleting information is deleting information that doesn't suit our values and beliefs. So when we delete information, we're deleting information that doesn't suit our values and beliefs. So what are you focusing on? Are you focusing on the negatives all the time? Because you're deleting the positives. Does that make sense? We're deleting the positives. And you're being selective on what you focus on, right? You're being selective. So, for example, a male who's really seeking a mate, or female, someone who's really seeking a mate, okay? Someone to be in a relationship with. They're always focusing on that attractive man or woman. They're always focusing on that. That's what they're valuing, and they're deleting all the other outside information and focusing their values on finding someone, finding a relationship. And a lot of people delete information that would benefit them more greatly than the information they're focusing on. They're focusing on their health, right? And they're missing out on all the good in the world. They're focusing in on the negative thoughts, right? And they're missing out on the good. So they're deleting the good and focusing on the bad, right? And that's what deleting the information is. What is important at this moment in time? What is important? Now, distortion is really misinterpreting your reality. Fear of a certain situation or procrastinating, taking something someone says and taking it the wrong way. You're distorting what they're saying. You think they're getting mad at you, but they're not, right? They're not. You just think that way because your ego is getting in the way. What are you valuing? What is your energy? You're running negative. You have a lot of negative energy within you, resentment, anger within you. So your ego is very reactive to other people. So that's distortion. You're not looking at what they're saying and being like, oh, they're probably having a bad day and I should cheer them up. But instead, your ego gets in the way and you react negatively to them, to how they are talking, because you think that they are getting mad at you because you're distorting what they are saying. And it's also related to how we construct our goals and how we view the future. Are you anxious about a future scenario? You're distorting it. You're thinking it's going to go horribly wrong, but instead after the event, you realize that it didn't go as bad as you thought it would. Have you ever had those moments where you thought something was going to go horribly wrong and after it actually went really well? So you're distorting something that is happening in the future to be negative instead of positive, because when you're distorting something negative, you're always focusing on the negatives because that's who you are, right? Like that's your identity, is being that negative person. You're always complaining, you're always focusing on the negatives, you're always looking out for the worst thing, you're always what's the word? Catastrophizing the future, the event, right? So how do you construct your goals and how do you view the future? Are you distorting it to be negative? But there's so much good, right? There's so much good that comes, and it's important to recognize that. And then lastly, there's generalization. Now, we generalize, and what that means is, learning and drawing a conclusion to the whole of a category, right? So if you drive one car, you can drive all cars. And that works for that. But it doesn't work so well when you generalize people. And I see this all the time when someone says, all women are like this, or all men are such a-holes, right? Yeah, I hear that all the time. All the time. And that's generalizing. Not all men, not all women are like that. Because I'm sure if you really think about it, you can name a lot of women who are really good. And you are attracting those negative males and those negative females. Have you ever thought of that? You're deleting the positive women or men, and you're finding men that suit your negative personality or your anxious personality or your narcissistic personality or whatever. You're attracting the wrong people, and that's also something to think about, right? When you change your external world changes, and then you start attracting different people because all of that negative energy within you after your anxiety recovery is gone. And all of a sudden you're attracting different people, positive people, uplifting people. And you're like, damn, I had all these negative relationships in the past. And now I'm having all these positive relationships now because I've released all of my negative energy. I changed my personality. I've shifted who I am and into someone else. It's all about shifting yourself into someone new, someone else. And it's not good when we generalize people because people are all different. Everyone has different perceptions of the world. As you can tell from this podcast, that we all have different filters. We all have different values and beliefs and interests, and we run different patterns. We all have different memories. We all have different energy within us. A lot of people have positive energy and uplifting energy. Some people have negative energy. And if you have negative energy and someone else has negative energy, you're going to attract to the negative person, right? Are you? Think about it. Are you? Are you attracting the wrong people? Should you change you and then change the outside world? Because that's what I did. I changed me. I focused on my recovery. And then all of a sudden, my relationships changed. All of a sudden, I attracted new people into my life. I got rid of old friends. I got rid of jobs. I looked for different jobs. When I was going through my anxiety recovery, I needed change. And I definitely got it because I wanted change so badly. I didn't want to be the same person. So it's all about changing who you are. Shift your values. Model after someone uplifting, powerful. Tony Robbins, Jordan Peterson, I don't know, Gary Vee. Doesn't matter. Find someone who you want to be like. There's so many people that I look up to. I look up to J. Cole too. He's a very spiritual guy. I look up to Russell Brand as well. I look up to Tony Robbins. Many people who challenge my beliefs, people who challenge my values. And then I started taking different courses, and I started to get outside of my comfort zone because I didn't want to be this anxious person. I didn't want to keep procrastinating and staying stagnant in my life. It was time for me to change, and it's time for you to change as well. And that's where I'm going to leave you on this podcast. Thank you so much, everyone. All of my listeners, I really appreciate you downloading the podcast. I really appreciate your comments on the YouTube channel. And go to unpluganxiety.com, where I have all of my videos posted and podcasts. And you can find one-on-one coaching there. Do not let your anxiety define who you are. I thank you so much. And I love you all. Have a great day. Bye. For more podcast episodes, for more video content, and one-on-one coaching with me via Skype, visit www.unpluganxiety.com for everything you need to know about ending anxiety naturally. I love you all. Have a great day. Bye-bye.